It's not a vote. It's still buying stuff. It's consumerism. Here in Vermont, despite the amazing efforts of hundreds of people who want to support local and regional food systems, we still have gaps. Gaps in poultry and meat processing capacity, gaps in food storage capacity, gaps in some crops that could be grown here but aren't, gaps in research and development, gaps in milk processing capacity. Although we are slowly filling in these gaps, it is in spite of the policies of this state rather than because of them. Where there has been success, it is largely because of the creativity and perseverance of the folks working on these issues, rather than the vision and foresight of our policymakers. There are exceptions, of course. There have been good successes with the Farm to School program, Vermont Feed. Farmers markets are strong here in the state, and many of them have EBT machines for food stamp customers, which is an important access issue. Last year, Vermont passed the Chicken Bill, which opened up possibilities for farmers to direct market farm-slaughtered poultry at farmers markets and to restaurants. Hopefully, a law will go into effect this April that will allow customers to contract with farmers to raise livestock and slaughter those animals on the farm for the customers. And we're slowly expanding farmers' ability to sell raw milk directly to customers, but these are relatively small steps. Rural Vermont has a vision for food with dignity. This vision would be a Vermont local food system which is self-reliant and based on reverence for the earth. It would build living soils which nurture animals and people with wholesome natural products, supporting healthy, thriving farms and communities. And the communities, in turn, would work to encourage and support current and future farmers, continuing our Vermont heritage. This abundant and generous way of life would celebrate our diversity and interdependence. That's our vision. We want to achieve this vision because we believe farmers should have the first rights to local markets, and community members should have the first rights to locally produced food. It shouldn't go away first. We should get it first if we want it. We believe that farmers should get a fair price for their products, and we believe that when these things happen, we'll all be healthier and happier. Michael Pollan says that we need to rebuild America's food culture by changing habits and diets. We are used to fast, cheap, and easy food, he says. Pollan suggests that in addition to working on food policy, we must work on food culture. He thinks that the new president should lead by example. He should take 5 acres of the White House lawn to plant to an organic farm. Which should be overseen by a farmer, imagine that, picked with as much care and attention as the White House chef. Pollan also suggests planting gardens, lots of gardens all over America. He wants us to plant gardens in every primary school as well as at our homes, like the Victory Gardens promoted by Eleanor Roosevelt. I agree, we should do these things. We should do everything we can to have more food produced in our home state, and I believe that these things are a matter of policy as well as culture. The state will need to encourage policy that encourages composting so that we can capture our nutrients and have fertile gardens. Towns could encourage residents to create neighborhood food councils the way we are now creating neighborhood energy teams. And those food councils could go out, for instance, and find the fruit trees that are already planted in your neighborhoods. That simple act could make a big difference. This year, just on my little block, 3 fruit trees. No one picked the fruit. 2 pear trees and a plum tree. Imagine that. The Second Vermont Republic could form a food council too, to begin developing the ideal food policy for the new nation if Vermont were to secede. This council could then work to have this policy implemented whether or not we do secede. This council could think about where people are more densely clustered and where the food is grown, and what sorts of infrastructure do we need to grow, store, and distribute the food year-round. What can't be grown here that we need? How will we get it? What will we trade for it? What could we grow that we are not growing now? For instance, if we are an independent nation, we could grow hemp. Just like he did when they were an independent nation. What sorts of processing facilities would we need for that, or for other crops? Where should we locate them? How can we encourage them to be opened? How will we train people to do this work? Where is the productive land that is not being used, and how can we encourage its use? There are many beginning farmers looking for land. How can we connect them with that land that is open? And how can we begin thinking about ourselves as producers rather than consumers to do that fruitful activity? I believe that this is the cultural shift that needs to happen. As long as we think about ourselves as consumers, people who use up resources, we will not succeed in achieving independence from the tyranny of the corporate industrial food system. We must take responsibility at all levels and work to create a new system that adds health and value to our bodies, our soils, and our communities. And as Rose and Justin were singing about earlier, we need to see chores as freedom. I look forward to doing some chores with all of you. Thank you.